Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebees, your #1 unrefined motorsports podcast. And holy hell, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're going to get right into it. It's Brian with Rob and Ashley. Folks, how we doing this week?
I'm thriving, Brian. I feel good. Starting to feel like a human again after a very, very busy weekend. By the way, thanks to everyone to coming out to some of the shows I had this weekend. That was a lot of fun. But as a result of that, and then teching for Holy Roller at Boston Calling, I didn't really watch a whole lot of racing until Sunday, so you guys are going to have to fill me in on that. And True Love is one of the people who actually watch racing, isn't that right? How you doing?
I watched all of it from 9 a.m. until midnight on Sunday.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So did I. I only caught the end of the F1 race, but I watched everything else. I stayed awake. I pulled it off.
Meanwhile, Rob was blackout drunk. Halfway through the 600.
on nips.
Taking a little nap.
Definitely browning out. No, I made it to about 30 to go, and I was really excited, and then I just woke up.
Man,
and
you're so close.
I know, I was so close. And I was, we'll get to it in a second, but great fucking race. Great racing all weekend. And then, yeah.
To be fair, Rob was being fed nips by his toddler niece. So that didn't help the situation.
Yeah, more on that later.
But yeah, might as well just start off with let's see, Friday night, the truck race.
ARCA was before that.
Oh, that's right.
We forgot to put it on the notes.
Yeah, forgot to put it on the notes. So the ARCA race happened. I'll admit I did not watch a whole lot of this because I didn't really care about it. I did have it on briefly. I was at the dog park hanging out with my dog, and
I would hope so.
Tuned in just in time to see. No, that does not happen. Tuned in just in time to see Cletus McFarland wreck half the field, spinning his tires on the restart, and that was all I needed to see.
You forgot he had to brake at Charlotte?
Yeah. Well, no, it was a restart, and he spun the tires, and he spun Isabella. He spun Isabella Robusto, and that took out like a third of the field. So,
there are 9 cars involved.
The only positive thing I'll say about that is, he dropped his shtick right away in his interview after the wreck and or after the race, because he did finish the race, but he dropped his shtick and immediately just apologized to everybody that got crashed. So I'll give him a little credit for that because. I think somebody else said, or he might have said somewhere else, like, I forgot there weren't restrictor plates on here, which if he said that right to start things off, that would have been coming for his head, but he at least was apologetic about it. So
yeah, he still finished 9th, but yeah, his post-race interview was great because when he apologized, he looked directly into the camera and got serious and sincere for a minute, and then he picked the shtick back up afterwards.
And he ripped his sleeves off and went right to work.
He said that he's planning on running Bristol next, so.
I think that was always the plan, really. I think Charlotte might have been an added race to his schedule. So
who? Oh, Austin Green won.
Austin Green, yeah.
How about that?
David Green's son.
Hell yeah.
Got to see David Green cry. That was very emotional.
Fuck yeah. I got a David Green diecast sitting right here on the bar right now. So nice. That's good. Yeah, Grant Enfinger in second. Wow, this is interesting. Yeah. Andy J got a top 5? Fuck, the one ARCA race I miss.
Mm-hmm.
What's the doctor's name again? Starpoli? Dr. Starpoli?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he was up there.
Yeah, top 10. Wow. Yeah, well, that's a lot of cars. Anyway.
I still think there's only 10 on the lead lap, but
yeah.
Yeah, well, it is ARCA,
It's 6. True Love, 6 cars on the lead lap.
Wow.
Yeah. Thad Moffitt holding up the best of the rest classification there.
Bless him.
After that, we had the Truck Series, which, to be honest, like, it was just the Corey Haim show. I mean, he didn't lead every lap, but he led the majority of them.
Won all the stages.
Yeah, Lane Riggs didn't do anything stupid, so that was good. And then we were obviously all tuned in for BJ McLeod, who unfortunately didn't have an amazing race. Like, he ended up finishing 15th, but a couple interesting things. There was an interview I saw with him before the race where he talked about, because he's a bigger driver than who they usually have in those trucks, they had problems with the shocks and like him hitting the bump stops in practice, so they had to fix that. Then, I had his radio on throughout the race, and they were having radio issues, and it really took a while to get the truck to where they needed it to be. And by the time the third stage, he was doing okay. But yeah, he ended up 15th, so not an amazing finish, but not horrible either. So hopefully he'll get another shot somewhere down the line. But,
I'd hope so.
Yeah, definitely the best I've seen him perform probably since a Talladega race like years ago. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, Corey Haim finally didn't have any issues and didn't get wrecked or anything. So it was a deserved 6 seconds. Yeah, Chastain was second. Kyle Busch was 5th, I want to say.
Damn, good weekend for Watermelon Nation, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he one of the last restarts, he did his best to get around and hold off Haim, but I mean, there was just no use. It was the Corey show, but it was a deserved win. Can't really say anything negative about it. He just dominated, so it was what it was.
Nice.
Yep. Moving on to Saturday.
Well, before we, since we're going to kind of go in chronological order here, we did forget to talk about the greatest spectacle on Friday, which is the Weenie 500.
Oh,
Kicked
yeah.
off the entire weekend with sheer cinema.
Absolutely. And
start to finish.
Just from everything about it was amazing. From how seriously the broadcast booth took it, and like... Yep. They made it. They actually did a better job covering that than they did the Indy 500. So
they dusted off all their best hot dog puns.
Yeah, they got all of them. Every single one.
Every last one of them.
Yep. They had an anthem where the guy came out and very seriously sung the Oscar Mayer Wiener song after he told the crowd to place your hand over your stomach.
Yep.
And then they had that 1,000,000-year-old lady come outside or do the command, screaming, "Weenies, start your engines," which
perfect.
Is...
I like that girl who was blowing the weenie whistle after the song. It was just, all the pomp and circumstance of Indianapolis just perfectly on display.
The crowd was super into it. My favorite was a child in the crowd who was bonking their dad in the back of the head with a giant inflatable weenie while his dad was blowing into another one. So
it was fun. It was a good time.
The first of the 1992 parallels coming in this race with a big drag race down to the line between the Slaw Dog machine, and I forget who the other one was.
I apologize. The Chai Dog.
Chai Dog, yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was all staged. I have a feeling that was.
Okay, let's not.
Come on.
You mean Slaw Dog?
Pull these conspiracy theories into the Weenie 500. There was some Slaw Dog supremacy, and that's all it comes down to.
I'm with you, Brian. I choose to believe that they had a different pop-off valve on the Slaw Dog machine. It's like some old USAC shit. Which, again, perfect throwback to 92. But, yeah, that was amazing. I loved all that. I've always been kind of bummed that Carb Day is just a fucking Bryan Adams concert every single year and then a practice session. They got rid of the Freedom 100, which was always a show. And if we can't have actual racing out there, since Indy Lights only has like 6 cars now, I'll take this because I'll take 6 Woody Mobiles any day of the week, and I hope they keep doing this because I really enjoyed that. But I wonder how long the novelty will stick around.
I was really hoping one would blow over, and that didn't happen, unfortunately.
Well,
yeah,
did have one overheat at least.
Yeah, that was true. And then somebody failed inspection too and had to go to the back. So that was perfect. That was
the most mind-blowing part of this whole race to me was the fact that they had people and cars and golf carts on a live racetrack, like at the start-finish line.
Yeah. What was that about?
What are y'all doing? topped off with the Borg Wiener Trophy.
I mean, the real
See,
Borg Wiener kind of is the Borg Wiener Trophy. If you guys remember, I got to bring this up every year.
Yeah.
The Borg Wiener, that guy has quite the hog on him on top of that trophy. So
We'll get a close-up shot of that. For
yeah,
the,
we'll be sure to post that again.
Best race of the weekend.
Don't even get me started on that. Moving on to the Xfinity race. So this was another race that was pretty much dominated by William Byron for the first two stages, and wasn't really a whole lot going on. I mean, it was a fine race. It wasn't, it was whatever. But the third stage is where it really turned it all into a shit show. Starting off, Byron, the last pit stop there, going into stage 3, he got a speeding penalty, so that ruined his position. And then from there were just a bunch of cautions. I don't know exactly how many, but it was just like, it was almost like Martinsville, just like every few laps there'd be another caution, somebody would wreck. This did allow Byron to move back up, though, and eventually get the lead and the win. That's about all I can remember. True Love, you probably have a few more detailed notes.
My only notes were Catherine Legg was in this race until J.J. Yaley wrecked her, but she was in the Elf car, and I saw that in the fan zone they had a huge activation set up with the Elf makeup where you could go in and get free samples and get your makeup touched up, and that place looked packed, so I thought that was a cool activation for the female fan base. Yeah, my biggest complaint was that I know this is Memorial Day weekend, but like 98% of the cars in the Xfinity race had red, white, and blue schemes that all looked the same, and it looked like a spotter's nightmare.
Yeah.
Even as a fan, I was like, I don't know who is who right now.
It was kind of that way in the Cup race, too, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's always that way in the ARCA race because all the cars are white, but,
That's true. I'm not sure what happened, but there was some radio of Jeb Burton saying that someone needs to break in his teeth, talking about Nick Sanchez.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Well, he was up there, too, for a while until there was a wreck.
Matt Crafton tried.
There was I think he wrecked coming to the line because it ended under caution, but I mean, they didn't throw the caution until Byron was pretty much on the front stretch anyway, so.
That race was whatever.
Yeah, it was fine. It was, nothing special.
One of our listeners, whose name is sparse_existence, informed us that there was a post-race concert after the Xfinity race, and
do tell.
It was Tim Duggar opening
no
for
way
Smash Mouth.
Oh God.
God, really.
I don't know if you've seen any pictures of Tim lately, but he's trying out this new mustache, and I gotta say it is not working for him.
Damn.
It's very creepy.
I try to avoid any Tim Duggar content whenever I can.
Well,
yeah, I've made it this.
Sometimes you just can't avoid it.
I've made it this far in life without really hearing a drop of his music, and I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. So I figure I'll just let that happen live, and hopefully the mustache is gone by the time I see him.
Yeah, Marcus Smith needs to put a little less effort into booking the Trump cabinet and booking better post-race artists. I guess. Jesus Christ.
Also, NASCAR Cup qualifying was on Saturday, and shout out to Chase Briscoe for this would be his first official pole, wouldn't it? Because didn't he get DQ'd at Daytona? I was after the race. Never mind.
Yeah,
that was after. Yeah. So second pole of the year, first time at a real racetrack where the engines are. You actually have to drive a lap instead of just pinning it to the floor.
Yeah.
So good for him. And
Briscoe
John Hunter
was
Nemechek too.
in the Xfinity race, and I just want to say that his Lance Crackers paint scheme was fantastic.
That is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice 90s throwback there. Trying to think what else. Cup stuff. Yeah, Ross Chastain, which we'll get to.
He won the opposite pole.
Yeah, he
the South Pole.
He crashed in practice. It wasn't a bad crash, but they still had to go to a backup car. And obviously that definitely played into Sunday, but we're not there yet, so we'll save that for a minute.
Yeah, the qualifying for the Coke 600 was kind of similar to the Indy 500 in how there was a lot of heavy hitters spread throughout the field and some people up front that you might not expect to be up there. AJ Allmendinger having a good run. John Hunter Nemechek finding some more speed.
Gragson was up there.
Gragson, he's been okay in qualifying, but still a little bit of a surprise. Ricky Stenhouse finding his way out of the basement and qualifying 11th. So, definitely some unexpected stuff in there. Bubba Wallace had a shitty lap. Usually he's pretty good at the mile and a halves.
2311's just been off this year, man. They've every single race seems like something happens. So I don't know what the hell's going on there.
My only note from practice and qualifying for Cup was the broadcast showed a guy on a golf cart who was like Austin Powers stuck in front of the grandstands.
Yes. He pulled it off, though. He did get it turned back around, but it took him a second.
Nice.
So, that'll lead us into Sunday, the big day. So I didn't watch all of the F1 race. I caught the last, 20 laps or so after I got back from the flea markets. I know True Love watched all of it, but, I mean, it's an F1...
Watch is a loose term. I had it on. It was
F1.
hard to watch.
Yeah, there's nothing going on. I just know, I tuned in, and, I threw, a tiny little bet on Verstappen just because, and he was leading. I was like, oh, cool, maybe I'll get a couple bucks out of this, and a friend of the show, Stacy Joya, she informed me that there was one more. Everybody has to pit twice now, I guess, in F1, and he didn't pit at all. I don't know what the hell happened there. Him and I guess Mercedes didn't pit, and a few other people. And
they were hoping for a late race caution so they'd freeze the field. They could come in and actually maintain the lead. But I guess Verstappen was guaranteed to finish fourth, no matter how that went down.
Well, no, because if he didn't pit, he would have been DQ'd. That was the deal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it worked out in their favor.
It worked out. Yeah, whether he pitted or he had to pit, but he would have been fourth regardless.
Yeah, there's nothing to lose there. So
yeah. So whatever, but
stupid rule I hated, and that's when I turned it off. Went outside.
I was just there for the scenery because that place is visually insane.
It is a
racetrack.
Absolutely beautiful racetrack, and I just hate that these cars are too goddamn big for them to race, and that's really what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, Stacy said last year, and I think pretty much this year too, the top 10 qualifiers just finished where they started. So it's oh, that's great fucking racing right there.
Yeah.
Jesus.
There's usually some sort of dust up on the first lap and not Saint Devote, but that little the hairpin lows, and that's usually where anything happens. And someone will usually fly through the fucking chicane after the tunnel and destroy their ship. I don't know if any of that happened. I just tuned in long enough to get annoyed at the rules and then immediately flip the TV off again.
So that leads us to Indy. So that I'm going to give the command to Rob here because this is his territory. So
yes, it is. I'm very excited for this. I'm always excited for the 500, but I got to give Fox a lot of credit, particularly with their pre-race show. They really did an amazing job of just building up and hyping and just displaying the true enormity of the 500. Much better than NBC has or ABC used to, that's for sure. They really, really made a spectacle out of it, even down to having Rob Gronkowski out there shithoused on TV to show off the snake pit. Just awesome. Awesome work. That's probably the highest compliment I can pay to the Fox broadcast. We did end up seeing some of the same things that plagued the NASCAR broadcast later on, but we'll get to that. But their little features they had for all the drivers, the segues, the team with Tony Stewart and Danica was great. The pre-race was fucking awesome. I really I got to hand it to him there. That was a good job. Of course, the whole weekend kind of surrounded and clouded by the drama surrounding Penske racing, and literally about an hour after our episode dropped, the rumors about the sort of actions that Roger Penske was going to take in response to the cheating scandal, which we talked about last week, and all the problems in tech. Of course, that's a major conflict for Roger Penske because he owns the team, the track, and the people who do tech. So, and the series. So that's
Too many things.
that's too much. Yeah, and he's already kind of stepped out of the team to try and make it as not cheating as possible. But you knew something big was coming, and I was not expecting what did happen, which of course was Tim Cindric and a couple other higher ups at Penske, Ron Wazowski, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and Kyle Moyer, who sat on top of Scott McLaughlin's box as a strategist. All three of them just really chopping the head off the organization, which is a huge, huge thing. Of course, Tim Cindric being the big name everyone knows because of just he's been with Penske since the mid 90s and really built that organization up into what it is now, which is a powerhouse. And they were fast before, but they had a little drop off in the mid 90s during the CART IRL split. And then they became who they are now, again, under Cindric's leadership. And he was the heir apparent to run Penske Racing at some point. But this isn't just him, or at least it doesn't seem to be just him getting fired from the IndyCar team and still retaining a position within the Penske Corp. He's just done, straight up.
I wonder if this is like a deal where maybe in a couple years he'll be back. Like, you gotta just go away for a while, and we'll bring you back when it's time.
We'll see.
He'll just go legally change his name.
Yeah.
Get a little plastic surgery done.
Timothy Cindric. Of course, I mean, this again, like, it's huge news. This is probably the highest profile firing in motorsports that we've seen in a long time, especially in the IndyCar world. I mean, this is unprecedented stuff here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's also talk of Penske and the IndyCar organization bringing in a independent team to do the inspections and all that stuff, just to kind of, create some separation between, him and the rest of the organization, which
probably oughta.
Probably be smart at this point.
I mean, the reason why they do it the way they do is because they used to do it that way back in the day when USAC ran everything. And, of course, there was enough problems there that caused them to go in this different direction. So in classic IndyCar form, just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Again, this is a little different because Penske owns the series, but who knows? A little NASCAR crossover here because, of course, Austin Cindric drives the two for Penske Racing and NASCAR. People trying to say that his career is over. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, he's actually performing pretty well. He's got to win. He's made the playoffs every year. I'm not a fan, but I got to give credit where credit is due. And I think even though they win championships, Penske's NASCAR team kind of struggles throughout the course of the entire season. They're not flashy like Hendrick or, Tyler Reddick would be throughout an entire season, or Christopher Bell, guys like that. But they always show up when it counts. And, I mean, honestly, like, if Cindric keeps this up, he's definitely got to be a favorite to make at least the round of 12, round of 8. So I think he's safe. His runway's way shorter now, that's for sure. And make no mistake, like, he was led to the seat that he's in through his family connection. But he's certainly performed. And if you guys remember how it was when he was driving trucks in the Xfinity Series, he was dog shit for a little while and slowly figured it out and started cracking skulls. And I think we're about to enter the skull cracking portion of this, or at least get a little closer to it. So I think Austin's probably in pretty good shape here. At least, he at least has to keep winning. I don't think he's as screwed as, say, whoever the odd man out at Trackhouse is going to be, which is still yet to be determined at this point. But yeah, that was the big story going into the weekend. Of course, as a result of that, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden sent to the back of the field. Scott McLaughlin wrecked in the warm-up before qualifying, before the pole day qualifying last Sunday, and ended up starting in the 12th position as a result. And that's about where the good times ended for him. Yes. It's a very cold racetrack, shades of 1992 throughout this entire race. We've seen this sort of thing before, and I mentioned 1992 because that was the year that Roberto Guerrero wrecked from the pole, and under very similar circumstances was just trying to put some heat in the tires and just completely bend it. Only difference is this was on the front stretch this year, and that was on the back stretch for Guerrero all those years ago. But absolute heartbreak for Scotty Mac there.
That was hard to watch. Like him sobbing in the helmet and then him climbing out to the grass like alone and like bent over sobbing. It was like, it was heart-wrenching to watch.
Yeah, but, that's what not Scott. It's not his fault. His team didn't cheat. But, that was the racing gods sorting it out for Penske, and all 3 cars ended up having issues. We'll get to the rest of it later. Once they got it sorted out again, they made it about 30 feet, and then Marco Andretti decided to KO himself as well. And real rough start to this 500 this year.
Yeah.
Took a little while.
Dixon's brakes caught on fire in the middle of all that.
Well, plus we didn't even talk about the rain delay, which obviously was stressful for Kyle Larson, but turns out that didn't really matter at the end, which we'll get to. But
Tony Kanaan was ready to get in the car. Of course, the plan if Larson couldn't make the start, because there's such a tiny little window here. And again, I know we're going to get into this a little bit later, but it's just what makes doing the double for any driver such a difficult proposition, because you literally have like an hour where nothing can go wrong. And knowing how the weather has been in Indianapolis throughout the history of the fucking race, and with the way NASCAR's rules are set up, it almost would have to be an IndyCar driver who would go over and give it a shot, and not vice versa, because the championship's on the line for a Cup driver. So, just tough stuff, and understandably frustrating for Kyle Larson. But they did get it underway, and I think had he finished the race, he probably would have made it out in time. But it was cutting it real close there.
I think with like 20 laps to go or so, when Bob Puckers was like, this is about the time that Kyle would need to get out of the car to head out. So
yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about it now. We're kind of already there. I think there was another accident before that. Again, it was a very cold racetrack. The fuel never really got a chance to string out like they would on a normal day, just because of the amount of accidents. Again, Marco Andretti wrecking on lap 0. And honestly,
and
like
Rossi dumping fluid.
Yeah.
Caught on fire.
I gotta say this. I think I'm not a Marco Andretti fan at all, and he's certainly the lesser of the family tree. But it does suck to know that pretty soon we're not going to have an Andretti in the field at Indianapolis again, because there's not really anybody coming up through the pipeline to take the mantle. So you kind of got to enjoy that name being on the grid while you can, because the other Andrettis that are racing are not doing IndyCar and are nowhere near adjacent to getting a shot of doing that. So, it's sad history, but the Andretti curse is real, and we saw it on display with Marco being slow as fuck all month, and then just immediately fucking wishboning the fuck out of it right at the beginning. And am I missing anything between this point and my first disappointment of the afternoon?
Well, between that was when Rossi had that big fire where his one of his crewmen had burned hands.
Oh, that's
and had to
right.
get sprayed down.
Yeah.
And then
very old school. Oh yeah, Scott Dixon also had brake issues on the warm-up lap, and his car was just on fire. Which they cooled the brakes off, and he was never a factor after that, because how could you be if you can't use your brakes in Indianapolis? So, kind of is what it is.
There was a caution for VK having no brakes and wrecking in the pits, and then Schwartzman's incident.
He Robert Schwartzman, pole sitter, mistook one of his crew members for a member of Hamas and just took him out.
And it was 3 or 4 crew members he smashed. I wish I never saw that replay in slow-mo, because
brutal.
It is so gnarly, like seared into my brain. I want it gone.
And I keep bringing up the old school nature of this race because of the cold, and this felt like a 500 from when I was a little kid, just because of the meat grinder kind of nature of it. Now, fortunately, no one was seriously injured in any of this. But yeah, just a lot of guys getting carted off with cuts and bruises and burns, and crew members flying all over the place, and definite
tears.
Tears. And again, Fox did a good job at portraying that. But of course, let's just get it over with. Kyle Larson, of course, wrecks. It was right after a restart. I don't know if he lost the air on the nose, or if it was because he shifted in a bad spot, or just...
Oh, he downshifted going into the turn.
While accelerating?
Yeah, he fucked up. That was just a straight up fuck up by him, man.
But the back of the car just went around, and there's no chance in catching that. So he He made it to Charlotte in time, so that's...
No issues there.
That was the one point in the day where I was unable to control. I actually went in the house and yelled when that happened. I had a big family barbecue going on like I always do, and it's quite the event, and family's around, and some people are into it, some aren't, but everyone's watching the race. And of course, when Larson goes around, I had to recuse myself into the living room where I just screamed, "Fuck!" Fuck! And then went back out, and it was fine, because I still had a dog in the race in Ryan Hunter-Reay, and then we'll get there eventually to my second big disappointment of the day.
I had quite the opposite reaction as you.
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah. His interview afterwards, too, like, man, he couldn't even make words. He was, like, emotionless, and you could tell he was annoyed with himself.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like, even at the banquet after the race, he was saying, and every interview he had is like, I don't know if this is even feasible or worth the time to do. Like, and the one thing I 100% agree with him. Like, he just wants to do the Indy 500. Yeah. But you have to have complete focus on that to make it work. And, like I said earlier, between the rules that NASCAR have set up for someone chasing the championship and the time constraints, it's essentially impossible to make this work. Unless you're like Cody Ware and, you don't really have a chance of making the playoffs anyway, then fuck it, let's go. Stick Cody out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the last time we'll see a double for a minute, so.
Yeah, unless it's the other way around, and even then I
I'd
don't.
like to see an IndyCar driver try it, but.
Yeah.
There's certainly possibility for that. Scott McLaughlin probably could, but we've seen the difficulty that guys of his, supercar guys have on ovals. I mean, Scotty Mac has plenty of experience at IndyCar now, and honestly, he would have been a favorite to win the race, but we also saw he's inexperienced, and the Cup cars are a completely different game than IndyCars.
Hey, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but SVG did have a top 15 out of it, so.
He did.
He did all right.
It's about time.
Now I can bitch about the broadcast. I thought the broadcast team did a fine job. I'm not a Will Buxton fan. I've said it a bunch of times, but I thought he handled himself pretty well. The booth did what they could, but it was the same thing as the NASCAR broadcast, just missing accidents. The timing and scoring was fucked up for a good portion of the race. So if you were trying to pay attention to the pylon, you had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, at one point I saw, 10, 20 laps to go. They said Palou was 3 laps down. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Which he wasn't.
yeah, definitely was not, so.
One thing I will clear up for all the folks who are confused by this, there's only a certain amount of laps at the beginning of the race that they can run before they just officially start the race. And that's what happened when McLaughlin wrecked and you started seeing the laps tick off. That was not a mistake. That's how the rules work. There's a certain amount of fuel that's allowed to be in there. And instead of having these guys burn off fuel, they start the race whenever it's supposed to start, whether the green's out or not. So that's what happened there. A lot of people were saying that was fucked up or whatever, but it's not. It's always been that way. So
when they had that, delay or whatever for McLaughlin wrecking, Fox went to commercial after that, and they came back literally just in the nick of time for the green flag. Like, they almost missed it.
Yeah. And I don't want to jump ahead to the finish here, but the most egregious sin of all was the finish that they essentially missed. But so let's get to disappointment number 2 of the day for me. Of course, I'm a big Ryan Hunter-Reay fan. A good buddy of mine, Frank Bolter, spots for Ryan. They were kind of on an alternate strategy, and then just the way the cautions and the complexion of the race kind of played out, Ryan was up front for a while, and his strategy would have kept him in the conversation with Alex Palou and Marcus Ericsson at the end. And they were coming to pit road, and they ran out of fuel on the warm-up lane coming in, and they couldn't get fuel cycled back to the system and had to retire the car with 20 laps left to go. And again, more wailing and gnashing of teeth. And at this point, the spirit had already left my body for a multitude of reasons. One of them being my my niece just handing me nips over and over again because she thought it was funny. And the bottles were cute. And the other, of course, my 2 dogs in the fight leaving under unfortunate circumstances. And fuck McLaughlin, too. Actually, I'm a fan of Scott McLaughlin. So.
Yeah, I was pulling for him.
Yeah, just rough stuff.
Minutes.
Yeah. You look good on the warm-up lap in the old yellow submarine. But set us up for a good finish. A couple of lap cars stayed out front. They don't cycle anybody back. There's no wave arounds or anything like that, like you'd see in NASCAR. And that caused Alex Palou and the leader, Marcus Ericsson, to kind of bunch up. Palou was kind of biding his time, and I don't know what the fuck Marcus Ericsson was thinking, but he took a real high entry into one. Or maybe it was, I can't remember what corner it was, but he took a high entry into one of the corners, and Palou just, like, ducked down and took it. And that was the race right there. And Ericsson never really had a shot again. I kind of thought maybe the lap traffic would have had an effect, but everyone kind of held station. And I mean, Palou had the faster car anyway. He was just, kind of, I don't know if he was toying with him, but he knew what he could do. And he definitely stretched it out to about 2 or 3 seconds, I think, and picked up a win.
First oval win.
First oval win. And yeah, you wouldn't have known it because they didn't fucking show him crossing the line on TV. They missed that classic shot of zooming in on the flag stand, which has been a staple of the 500 for as long as I've been watching it. And they chose to watch something else. I don't fucking know. Marcus Ericsson toddled them wrong, but
let's be honest too here. It's probably for the best that Ericsson didn't win because he ended up getting DQ'd. So that would have been just adding on to the shit pile.
But yeah, Alex Palou, very emotional. He said his career would not be considered complete unless he won the Indianapolis 500 at least once. And during the media after the race and at the banquet, he said that I have no more interest in F1. This is my life. I want to win more of these and become the greatest at Indy. Which, God damn it, I love to hear that. And Alex is. He's a nasty man. He's such a good driver, man. And that's a tough race to win, so congrats to him. Not a Palou fan by any means, but he certainly deserves every bit of that. And now I think that's his 6th win of the year. So
Fifth of 6 races.
That's right, yeah. Also, Joseph Newgarden put on a show coming from the back, but ultimately had some equipment failure there, and that was it for him.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. I was kind of
I liked that. Yeah,
wanted to see how that played out.
That made me feel a little bit better. We got the best of both worlds. I didn't have to watch him come from the back and win, but we did get to see some passing and some really exciting shit, and also watch Joseph Newgarden get booted out of the race, which I really, best of both worlds for me. But yeah, great 500. I mean, it was. I'd say it's kind of a classic. I don't know. It was just such a weird race, and again, it felt very old school. And I can't stress it enough. Fox nailed the vibe. Like, they absolutely nailed the vibe of the race, and they made this thing feel as big as the Super Bowl, if not bigger, which is not something that anyone else has really been able to do. And it's just a shame that the rest of the broadcast fell short and kind of succumbed to the same problems that the NASCAR broadcast had. Maybe Artie came back.
Pre-race was great. That whole part where they had Chris Myers and Tony Stewart and the other person sitting outside in front of a huge crowd. The crowd was losing its mind so loud. It really reminded me of like the old Speed Channel days.
Absolutely.
Pre-races. So.
Yeah, no broadcast has done that good of a job of, I guess just miking the fucking crowd up properly. But they definitely had the mics pointed backwards, and they were rowdy as fuck this year. And I imagine they always have been, but this is the first time in a long time we've gotten to see that. So,
speaking of which,
the best Twitter account.
Documented.
So who found this? Was this you, Brian? Because I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following it for a couple of years. Yeah.
There's a Twitter account called Indy 500 Pics, which sounds, sounds tame enough.
Sounds wholesome.
Yeah. It isn't.
Nope, not at all.
So everyone listening, please open your Twitter right now and go to @Indy 500 Pics.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
incredible stuff.
The best of all the shit that happens in the snake pit and at Indy in general, and that's where all the bad stuff is. So it is well worth your time to just scroll through the last few years of nonsense that happens at that track. So
one more thing, I don't know if I sent this to you guys at all, but did you see that video from I think it was like from 1986 of people claiming their spots in the Coke lot?
Yeah.
And just
yes.
Yeah, we'll have to post a a screen grab of that on the Instagram post because that's an America that does not exist anymore. That's a boomer thing to say, but let me tell you, I'm not fucking kidding.
Like just fucking like
Cars
8
rolling
trucks.
over.
Yeah, 8 trucks just going full blast through this gate the second they open it. Yeah, truck flipping.
6 a.m.
It's so fucking sick. It's amazing.
Incredible shit. But yeah, any more thoughts on the 500 before we move on to the big NASCAR show? Did I miss anything here? Oh yeah, Connor Daly pissing himself. We didn't talk about that.
Connor Daly pissed himself. Not only did he piss himself, he pissed himself in the car before the race, and then announced that to the audience at the Indy 500 banquet, who were horrified. Many wives and women were just horrified in hearing that. So,
that'll certainly go down in the lore of. Of the Indianapolis 500 going forward here. So
women with their mouth agape in their ball gowns.
Yeah.
Connor Daly. I was pulling for him at the end, but I guess he was on a different strategy.
Yeah, it just didn't work out. But yeah, Alex Pillow, your big winner. Congratulations, buddy.
Moving on to the 600. So this was the Amazon Prime debut, and they completely knocked it out of the park. Now, I didn't see any of the pre-race, so True Love, you're going to have to give us some notes here, because I decided to take my dog to the dog park to tire him out so he wouldn't bother me while I was watching the race all night.
Yeah. So pre-race was great. My very first note about pre-race, I wrote, LaJoy looks like he's wearing eyeliner.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Pretty sure he had the J.D. Vance look going, but
just because I don't want to talk about
eye.
him, I don't want to have to talk about him again. Tonight.
He's all through my notes doing dumb shit.
Okay, fine. Then we'll save it because there's a lot to say about him throughout the show.
So Fox had those cartoons, those wacky cartoons that everyone hated. So Prime decided to bring in a segment with Steve Letarte and Muppets. Not really sure what that was about, but yes,
I missed that.
A Muppet. There was also they're already sitting in the cars. The cars are cranked, and Kim Kuhn walks up to Kyle Larson and sticks a microphone in through the window to interview him about his time at the Indy 500. No. And you cannot hear one single word that he says for that whole interview.
It's probably for the best.
Like the Charlie Brown teacher. It was hilarious.
Yeah, we'd heard enough about that at that point.
Probably for the best. And then the Prime's whole song intro that every broadcast has a song intro with a fun montage. They knocked it out of the park too. That opening montage was perfect.
It was great, but the other guy with Eric Church.
I could have done
they could have picked. Yeah, they could have picked somebody else. He was not a good fit with John Fogerty. I was not into that. But the fact that they showed both David Pearson and Dick Trickle smoking was great. Like that. You don't see that too often these days. So
cool. We'll talk about the Earnhardt documentary in a little bit here, but definitely a connection there. That was the Earnhardt documentary is also on Prime, and I guess it's probably produced by the same people, or at least some of the same group. And it definitely feels just like a lot of elements of this broadcast did, which I'm 100% here for.
Yeah, there was no Mikey Gridwalk bullshit with this broadcast. And then they had the entire starting grid before the race that they went through, which I'm sure Dale Jr. pushed for that. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he even talked about that as soon as he signed the deal. That's what he wanted to get done. So I'm glad it happened.
And then the race started.
Yep. Trying to think. Let's see here. The race.
Byron took control right where he left off in the Xfinity race pretty early. He went 3 wide and took the lead, and that was that for quite a while. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Larson got the lead.
Larson got the lead, and then he wrecked with the lead.
I missed
on lap 43.
It all kind of blurs together.
Yeah. He wrecked there. Larson got the lead. Byron got the lead back. I'm trying to think of the early, the notes from the early couple stages. When did that wreck happen
Bowman
that took
hit the
Larson
wall.
out? Yeah, Bowman hit the wall.
There was a caution for Jimmy Johnson and Connor Zillich.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a lot of Larson notes because he kept coming in. They would open the hood, and then just endless footage of him sitting in the car, the in-car camera pointed at him, and he has just a 1,000-yard stare. Like, he's so fucking over it. He looks dead inside.
Yeah, I get it.
Meanwhile, there are a lot of
Same look I had on my face at that point, probably.
There were a lot of shots of Denny Hamlin too, his in car, and kind of like almost the opposite. Like he just had this crazy, insane stare driving the whole time, which
wide-eyed.
was not a shock, but still cool.
Prime definitely utilized a lot of in-car camera footage pointing at the drivers and pointing out the front in this broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, overall, the broadcast itself, like, it was, I don't want to say serious, but it lacked all of the hokey bullshit that Fox has, and it just made the sport seem like a true sport for once. And, and even just the way, like, the cars looked on track, they looked so much faster than they did on Fox.
Yeah, it took me a while I couldn't tell if it was just the nips I'd had or if I was just projecting on this broadcast because I wanted it to be better than what we'd seen before, but it looked faster. Even the cars sounded more aggressive, like the way they mic'd them up. I feel like it was just a better presentation. And again, like Fox was able to do with the 500, the Prime crew made this shit feel massive. You were watching a major event. And I don't think we've had a race feel like that in the tone of the broadcast. Again, it reminds me of what the CW is doing. But it's just a bigger event because it's the fucking Cup Series, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the booth had like a genuine enthusiasm instead of whatever hokey bullshit Fox does with their in-booth bickering.
Yeah. And Steve Letarte, a little bit unhinged, I feel like. Or not unhinged, but he didn't have a network leash on him a little bit. He was a little bit more enthusiastic and just a lot of energy in the booth that you wouldn't normally get, as fucking Kevin Harvick and Clint Bowyer nitpick each other.
Oh God, the Kevin Harvick calling the win on Friday was worse than Jamie Little.
It was.
What'd he do?
It was just like him trying to be enthusiastic but failing wholeheartedly at it.
I mean, it was basically a Jamie Little call, but in a man's voice.
Perfect.
Yeah. It was bad.
At least we know what it sounds like the other way now.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards made his debut. He was an absolute natural. Like, he was born to be in that booth. So, or the studio side, whatever that shit was on pit road. But
right.
Yeah. As the race went on, it looked like Corey's eyeliner was melting.
Oh, no.
When are you going to talk about the feet pick?
That's after. That was post-race.
That's post-race.
Oh, okay. We'll save that then.
Everyone let their hair down and took their shoes off a little bit.
So when does the wreck happens that takes out Larson and Blaney?
Lap 247 was Suarez, Blaney, Larson, and Haley.
Yeah. It wasn't Larson's fault. He did his best as he could to get away from that.
One last little nail in the coffin. Of probably the worst day of his career.
It was kind of his fault for wrecking from the lead and putting himself back there to begin with.
It's fair. I'm trying to think what else happened. We got a killer battle for the lead at the end of stage 3 between Hamlin, Byron, and Carson Hocevar, who he had a great race up until his motor blown. I mean, I honestly thought, because he didn't qualify well either. I think he spun or something. I don't know what the hell he did, but he spun in qualifying. And
he started 39th, right?
Yeah, and but he was up there, and I kind of had. I mean, there have been a handful of first-time winners in the 600 over the last 20 years, and I kind of had him up there for this. Maybe this is his night, and it kind of seemed like that. But yeah, right at the beginning of stage 4. His motor blew from second place, like right after a restart, just shit the bed. And not only did he swear on TV. Amazon didn't even apologize for it. He's like, it fucking blew up. Didn't even nobody in the broadcast
no
booth
acknowledgement
even,
whatsoever.
Just whatever, it just happened. So that
Yes,
was,
it did.
that was- very much sucks that Hocevar blew up. Like, I was definitely pulling for him, but I'm glad that happened, and nobody even blinked at it. So
Yeah,
that was cool.
Something about these long races like this, it just allows people to have more time to get it sorted out, and I think that's why you see first-time winners at this place. Because it gets into fuel strategy, or it's just
there's so much that happens, and there's attrition and all this other stuff. Where, it's the longest race of the year, obviously, but kind of like the Southern 500, it is a race of endurance. It's a lot goes into it.
Yeah, but it's certainly not riding around, I'll tell you that. And one more shout out to the Prime team for focusing on battles all over the racetrack throughout the course of the day.
Yep.
I appreciate the split screen too of showing multiple battles.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think all of stage 4 was commercial free.
It was, yeah. At least the last 60 laps were, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we can get to the finish where I didn't even know Ross Chastain was doing what he was.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet because
You don't want to go
Hamlin had some issues.
Yes, so it was probably, it seemed like it was going to come down to Hamlin or Byron, and
right.
there was, I think there was a caution, right? I can't remember, but whatever the last pit stop cycle was.
There was a caution when Hocevar's engine blew. That was
So Hamlin's, something happened with his fueler, and they missed out on like 4 or 5 gallons of gas. So he was
the
still
second
up there.
can didn't connect.
Yeah, he was still up there, and he was trying to stay up and keep his position, hoping for a caution, which unfortunately for him never came, and he had to pit with 20 laps to go or something like that. But this led to an unexpected battle for the win between William Byron and Ross Chastain, who started dead last after not qualifying, and I think he said he gained 8 seconds between the last restart and gaining the lead. He was clicking off with maybe 15, 20 to go. Byron had a good lead, but Chastain was clicking off 0.2 a lap. Like, he was coming, and he got up there with 10-ish to go and seemed to stall out. And I was like, I guess that's it. He used up his car. And he also, too, he pitted a little bit later than Byron. That's what he claimed when, in his post-race interview, that he had 2 extra laps on his tires, or 2 fewer laps on his tires, and that was one of the things that helped him, which I don't know how true that was, because after he stalled out and it seemed like he was just going to finish second, they ended up catching up to Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, who it was more Logano than Hamlin, created a lot of dirty air for Byron, and I think with 4 or 5 to go, going into turn 1, Chastain just cut down and did a pretty much picture-perfect slide job coming out of 2 to pass Byron. Byron had to check up to not wreck both of them, and that was it. I startled the hell out of my dog yelling because I couldn't believe what I saw, and the Melon Man did it from last to first. First time in over 50 years anyone had done that, and
no shit.
Yeah. It was great. Obviously, True Love was not happy with that, but I sure as fuck was.
I was asleep.
And, Rod didn't see it, so
I watched that on Monday.
I sat on my couch since 9 a.m. all for the Fruit Freak to win.
fuck off.
Fruit Freak.
The way that whole scene of him going out into the crowd and like hand-feeding watermelon to strangers, and they're all like grabbing it with their like dirty drunk hands all up and down the line and shoving it in their mouths. I was like, oh my god. And you could just see the joy all over his face, like, yes, they want my melons.
If Chase Elliott was a watermelon man, you'd be the first one to take a bite, so I didn't want to fucking hear that.
Chase Elliott would never be a fruit freak.
We should put the disclaimer out that True Love doesn't like watermelon as a fruit.
I don't.
So that's
Yeah.
might have something to do with it, but yeah.
I'm a berry gal.
Disgusting fucking piss hands from a race car, touching drunk sticky mouths with fruit that came from God knows where. That is a little
So
gross.
repulsed.
I don't know. I was
Happy for you, Brian.
excited. Yeah, it was. I mean, like, you know, I am not. Well, I don't hate Byron. I don't really like him, and you know, after seeing him dominate, it could have been almost anybody to pull that off, and I would have been excited. But the fact it was one of my guys definitely made the night a lot better. So I was very, very excited about that win.
Yeah.
Byron's post-race interview was kind of, man, I felt for the kid. Like, you could see that he was
The first one they
real
went
bummed
to.
about that. Yeah. But he'll be okay. Hendrick just re-signed him until 2029, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't win them all, man. And at least he wasn't too much of a piss baby about it, unlike Logano.
Yeah. You know, interestingly enough, despite all the action, the results of the race kind of really closely matched the qualifying, with the exception of Ross Chastain coming all the way from the rear. AJ Allmendinger getting a top 5. Chase Briscoe managed to rally back to 3rd. Brad Keselowski also getting a top 5.
Yeah, first finished in the top 10 all year.
Yeah,
Priest
Ryan
was up
Preece
there.
up to 9th after starting back in the back of the bus, so that was good. Yeah,
it was good race. A lot of people I liked up towards the front. So yeah, I mean, it was great. It was very much a classic NASCAR race, I would say.
absolutely. I would say that was probably the best race of the year, in my opinion.
It was. It was. It's the top of the athletic Jeff Gluck poll. It got 90%. It was a good race, and it's leading for the year so far.
Speaking of the Gluck poll, there was one for the Weenie race as well, the Weenie 500. I didn't see the results, but I thought that was funny.
I think it was like 80, 89 or something. It was good. So.
It's pretty sad that beats most of the NASCAR races this year.
Prime also delivered us a long-ass post-race, too. Like, well into the night.
I woke up to that.
This is where LaJoy decided that he really wanted to try to shine, and man, I couldn't. I was very distracted by the fact that Corey couldn't stop touching everyone. Whoever they put next to him, every interview, he was just like, kept like, you know, throwing his arm over there and, you know, smacking them in the chest or touching them on the arm or touching their hands. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of bad touches during this broadcast.
Even he was even touching feet with Carl Edwards.
Yeah, in the bus? What the fuck was that photo?
You go off, Ashley, because I know you hated it.
I don't even really know that. What's the lady's name that was in the lineup with them? Was it Danielle Trotta?
Danielle Trotta,
yeah. Well, I guess like in the middle of the race, the three of them went and sat in a motorhome to watch it on the world's tiniest TV. And she took a picture across from Carl and Corey, who are sitting on a couch next to each other. Mm-hmm. And Carl has his shoes off with his socks on. Corey has one shoe off, and the other shoe is still on and on the nice leather couch. Mm-hmm. And if you zoom in on the picture, their pinky toes are touching through the socks. And I'm scarred for life.
No, so disappointing.
Yeah. None of that made sense. But yeah, post-race.
Why on the couch? Why put...
I don't know. At one point in the post-race, Corey called Rick Hendrick Rick Sanderson. He just had like word vomit. I was like, well, that's not going to bode well for you the next time you send him a letter.
Yeah, maybe that's what...
Rick is throwing those letters right out. Yeah. He ain't reading those.
That's right into the shredder, yeah.
I don't know. I thought the whole booth was incredible, but Corey, to me, seemed like the little annoying kid brother who is trying to sit at the adults' table and no one wants him there. He's like the three-headed dragon meme.
Yep. 100%.
But yeah, they brought Byron out to the post-race shebang and made him sit there while he was so sad. Very extended interview.
I hope they do that for every race. Bring out second place and just
Punish
get their
them.
dejected
Yeah,
interviews.
before they brought out Ross to drink beer.
Yeah.
And then Corey brought out a handmade chart of best burnouts of the season that he tried to make a thing, and
Yeah, nobody cared.
yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, I slept through most of that, but by the time I woke up, they were like probably interviewing like Buckshot Jones and shit because they'd run out of drivers.
Well,
so.
that was actually probably my only complaint. I would say I don't think they interviewed enough drivers. They probably could have interviewed a few more.
They just spent a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, like they were. It was a lot of stuff just at that desk there. So maybe work on that a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it was just perfect as far as a broadcast team goes. And
Yeah, the limitations that exist with a television broadcast are just missing from this. They can do whatever they want. Like you said, there's no censorship. They can run as long as they need to. They can run that pre-race show 30 minutes or 3 hours, depending on what happened. There's no cutoff time. And another little point for Prime is that the race replay automatically reloads in Prime, and you can just start it from the beginning again, which unless you have
great.
DVR, you couldn't do that. So, yeah, I know a lot of people are upset about the Prime. Well, not a lot of people, but some people are upset about Prime.
A certain age bracket.
Yeah. And I'll hear arguments about, areas not having Wi-Fi and shit like that. I understand, like, the whole country's not hooked up and there has Starlink or whatever, which sucks. But
and don't get me wrong, I don't want to give Jeff Bezos any money either, but at the same time, like, this is well worth spending a couple
folks,
bucks
you can literally get a 30-day free trial if you're having problems with this and just watch it on Prime. You can just watch it. It's only 5 races. Well, 4 now, I guess. So it's not difficult to do. If you can post on Facebook in all caps, you can certainly figure out how to use your Prime account to watch NASCAR racing.
Yeah, I would love to know the percentage of people bitching on Facebook that already had Amazon accounts.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be at least half.
It's free. And here's another little tip for all you. Just set a reminder so it doesn't fucking charge you when the trial's up.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I watched the Chili Bowl for years by signing up for a free Fubo 7-day trial. It's
and I'll say
doable.
this, like, I think I paid $9 a month for Amazon, and I apparently have a package that it was, the commercials didn't matter for the race, which was nice. They did add commercials to the Earnhardt doc, which was annoying.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that till I was actually watching that, but I pretty much only have the account to watch NASCAR stuff, so it didn't affect. If you want to save even more money, not even $9 a month, just get that package. And
There was a great commercial that debuted during all this Prime stuff too. Dale Jr.'s new IHOP commercial that they played a million times, and I love so much. So
Yeah, good stuff. Any closing thoughts before we move on to the general stuff here?
well, y'all want to talk about Ross's hat?
Oh, the
that's
hat
right.
incident. So apparently, somebody on. Oh, my cat's fucking stepping on my computer. Am I here? Hello?
You're here.
Okay, sorry.
Is this Brian's cat now?
Yeah.
You guys have the same voice?
Yeah, so I saw a tweet about somebody stealing Ross's hat out of his car after the race, and I was like, okay, well, that's I was like, whatever, that's fine. It's stupid, who cares? But then I saw the video of it, and the video is amazing. So the kid steals the hat out of Ross's car, and a security guard chases him for about a half a second and then gives up, and then the kid just kind of runs around the pits, doesn't even get away with that. He just kind of stays there, and nothing else happens. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Ross talking about it, and I heard his in-car audio too. And he said that the guy just came up into the window he was congratulating him, and Ross was like, I don't know this guy, but I'm in a good mood, and everyone's excited that I won. And he leaned in to high-five him and put his hand on the back of his head, and Ross was like, okay, I guess he just pat me on the head, congrats. And then he snatched my hat off and stepped back from the car and did a little dance and said, "I got your hat, I got your hat."
Wow.
He runs like 15 feet and Ross is screaming, "Get that fucking hat, get that hat." And then the two security guards that are there just kind of lumbering around like, it was very comical.
Amazing.
It's not quite as good as the guy stealing the pace car at Talladega, but that's I'm gonna put that at second place. So
I don't know if I could go that far, but it was funny. Yeah, all in all, a great weekend of racing, even if it didn't go the way I hoped it would.
Yep.
Exactly the way I hoped.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say this, not to spend too much more time on the Larson thing, but I think it's a huge bummer that I don't actually care about the double as much as I hate the fact that at Indianapolis we don't get to see short track guys or sprint car guys really get shots all that often. And I know Kyle's a NASCAR champion, it's a big deal, whatever. But the fact that he's kind of the only one that might even be thought of to get an opportunity coming out of that world, which is where the Indy 500 was really born from and, you know, where it all ties back to. You know, it was a throwback to, like, Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt and fucking Rich Vogler and Tony Stewart, you know, and all these guys that, you know, I grew up idolizing. And I think it's a shame that the only guy who really has those ties who'd be allowed to do so, because I can't imagine Christopher Bell was ever going to have the opportunity to do this shit, unless they run the Indy 500 on a Thursday, which is not going to happen.
Unless Ty Gibbs says that he wants to do it.
Yeah, so maybe he should run. So I'm going to start the campaign to get Ty Gibbs to run the Indy 500. But even then, I think Gibbs is not as adventurous, especially when it comes to the championship being what it is in NASCAR. So it just sucks that I think this is how it's going to end for a little while. Yeah. I'm sure Larson will run the 500 again at some point, but I think it'll be after he's got a few more wins and maybe a couple more championships under his belt before he says fuck it and goes back off to do whatever else he's got going on. And, you know, for me, again, it was less of I'm a Kyle Larson guy, and I want to see him go over to IndyCar and kick ass. It was like, here's a guy who actually comes from the roots of where IndyCar used to be and moved away from that.
I totally get that, because even I'm not a huge Larson fan, but I you know, respect the hell out of him, and he's, you know, arguably still one of the best drivers in the world.
Oh yeah, and he represents that corner of the racing fandom, even in NASCAR. Like, he's the short track guy or the dirt track guy to most people, and it just sucks that you know, you don't get to see that very often. You know, well, he's the first one since Brian Clausen, I think, with those roots to try and make the show.
Yeah.
And it just sucks we probably aren't going to get to see it again for a while, because I don't see anybody coming over from the sprint car or Silver Crown world that's going to get a shot. Even if they did, it wouldn't nearly be as good as the McLaren equipment, even though they struggled this year. So that's my closing thought on that. Too bad.
While we're still kind of on the topic of Amazon, might as well start off with Earnhardt doc notes.
Yeah, man.
So, did you watch? I mean, I know True Love did. Did you watch both episodes, Rob?
I watched the first one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was great. So, I mean, when it was announced, I think my first question was, well, they already did an Earnhardt doc years ago. Like, what's this going to be about? And even Junior, right before it was released, there was one of the articles that was written about it. He answered the question for me. He's like, this one's not going to be, I mean, obviously it'll focus on his racing career, but it's really also going to talk about the person and his family and all the other stuff that maybe a lot of fans and other documentaries and stuff didn't really focus as much on. And that is very much the case. You know, incredibly well done. Which I think we all expected that. There were definitely some not quite subtle shots at Teresa throughout this, which isn't really a surprise, because even I think right before one of the PR pieces came out was like Kelly said, we can't even go to Dale's mausoleum, and she might get us arrested if we do that. And so it really isn't a surprise.
Yeah,
kind of seeing that stuff make the documentary. The second episode really heavily leans on Dale's relationship with Neil Bonnet and how that affected him when Neil passed. And, you know, throughout the whole thing, there's so much archival footage that I'd love to see more of. Like, I don't know, stuff I've I've never seen. I know even Junior himself is like, a lot of this stuff I've never seen before, and I don't know where it came from. But it's all just so fucking good.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I hadn't seen before, and a lot of footage that you have seen before, but just the way they weave the whole narrative together, it's a beautifully done documentary just from the technical side of things.
Yeah.
And it tells the story in a way that hasn't been told before, which, Earnhardt is a folk hero now. Like, his legend looms a lot larger than the history, and even people who don't know anything about NASCAR kind of have an idea who he was and how the story went, but this really clears it up and puts it in perspective in a way. And DW's contributions to this were pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the quality of this old footage is incredible. And the amount of never before seen footage that they dug up is out of control. My boyfriend was doing a little research, and he said that the people that put this together, they had 15 petabytes worth of footage available.
I've never even heard.
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours that is. Jesus.
I don't know. 1 petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. So
Oh my
15
God.
of those. So they had that much, at their disposal to try to put together. But yeah, I thought it was a good. Also, like Rob was saying, like Dale's become such a larger than life figure. I thought it was a nice dive back into his beginning to remind some of the fans that didn't live through it how much of a fucking asshole he was on the track.
Yeah.
And why the fan base was really divided against him throughout his career.
I'll also say this. When we were talking about the NASCAR Netflix series last week or the week before, and how I was alluding to the fact that this is not how you do it. There's so many stories and so much footage and information out there that you can put together and really display what this is in a way that hasn't been actually done before. This is it.
Yeah.
I think this should have been it. This is it. This could do for NASCAR what Drive to Survive did for Formula One, at least in the quality. And it is the number one streaming film on Prime right now. So
that's good. I would say the only criticism I have is some of the piped in like car noises. That was the only thing where that kind of just. I mean that's being incredibly nitpicky because the thing was A+. Other than that, but that's my only negative thing I can say about it. But even then, that's very minor in the grand scheme of things.
If that's the complaint, then fucking great job.
Yeah. If folks are into dramas about daddy issues, this is the doc for you.
Even Dale, Senior had daddy issues. Obviously, Junior and the rest of the kids had them. So it seems like they're ending with Junior though, which is good.
Yeah.
My favorite clip that I've seen so far out of all this isn't even Dale Earnhardt related. It's a brief clip at an award ceremony with Tim Richmond feeding Humpy Wheeler.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that exists.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch episode 2. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and do it. And from what I gather, it is kind of a Neil Bonnet documentary as well. Another badass that I don't think gets enough credit outside of fans like us. So good to see his name being displayed out there. And I look forward to seeing some of that footage because there's so much of it out there that exists that just is lost or at least not visible anyway. So
it's like I wish, like, I don't know. Again, I don't know where the footage came from, where it is, but it's like, just give us the raw shit, man. Like, put that somewhere. Like, if there's ever a streaming service for NASCAR, like, just put all that stuff up, and that's gold to me.
Yeah, well, hopefully this Prime experiment goes well, and there's more on the way, because I would love to see. There's so many other stories in this sport that could be given that treatment that would be compelling.
Yeah, I mean, Prime is putting out another documentary soon about the Garage 56.
Oh shit!
Deal.
I'm sure that'd be. I'm sure it'll be good. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be Earnhardt good, but.
I saw somebody on Twitter that I follow suggested that they should do one on the Alabama gang, and that would be fucking great. So I hope maybe that put that on their radar. So.
After watching these first 2 episodes, I went and finally watched just the second episode of Full Speed, and I was like, God damn, I fucking hate this.
Yeah. I mean,
Night
I
and
watched.
day after.
Yeah, I got through that before watching the Earnhardt documentary, and that was the better route for sure, because there's no point in watching Full Speed. So
Yeah, I'd rather watch fucking Ross Chastain feed watermelon to Carl Edwards and Corey LaJoy touching feet on that couch. That's what I'd rather do than watch that shit.
let's see here. While we're on the topic of Earnhardt, Jr. is running a Budweiser baseball.
That's right, the baseball
throwback
car
scheme, which that was another Ryan Williams masterpiece. And
It's probably
he
already
talked
made
about-
$4 billion off the merch already.
Yeah,
I did notice that this merch is more expensive than usual because it's in a collaboration with the MLB. So.
yeah. Unfortunately, makes sense.
Where's he running this one? Is it Anderson?
At Anderson, so yeah, I'll definitely be at this because it's only like an hour and a half for me.
Nice.
So.
Let's see here. And Bubba Wallace was on Sesame Street.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, I really don't know anything
Yeah,
other than I saw photos of it. But
Yeah,
that's
I
cool.
don't think the episode's aired yet, but they were just filming for the upcoming season. But I thought that was a really wholesome, great crossover.
I thought that was AI for a second because there's so much of that out there. Speaking of which, my AI pick of the week, Kyle Larson, of course, rough couple of weeks here. He wrecked about 5 Indy cars and a Cup car, and just probably feeling pretty dejected right now. But through all that, if you choose to believe the Post, he did manage to find time to really lift a young boy's spirits. If you read the text anyway, the AI images that went along with this certainly don't indicate that was the case. This came from a page called Fastlane Racing News, which I don't know what the fuck that is, but it says, a little boy was waiting in school for mom to pick him up, but then Kyle Larson shows up and did this. Wrecked his mom's car. But it was just another ordinary day with the little boy sitting waiting for his mom to pick him up after school, but something unexpected happened when Kyle Larson, the NASCAR superstar, appeared right in front of him, leaving the boy in complete disbelief. A surprising and inspiring moment where the boy not only met his idol, but also received encouragement and unforgettable memories that will stay with him forever. And the photos that AI created here are just Kyle Larson kissing on this crying little boy.
And
It becomes more and more Korean as the images move on.
His hair grows. The kid does not stop crying, and it doesn't look anything like Larson either.
No.
Like not at all.
The kid looks like Larson.
The kid looks like Larson a little bit, though. Yeah, that didn't happen, but that's our AI pick of the week.
This would be my face if Larson was that close to me.
Let's see, and then the DARF of the week here. So Rob, I'm guessing you picked this, right? There was
Well, this comes from Kyle Armstrong. We were sitting around texting last night, watching the World of Outlaws, and he sent a screenshot of this over. It's a Junior Motorsports post in regards to Sammy Smith getting DQ'd from the Xfinity race. The post itself read, due to a miscalculation, our end, we failed with our weight in post-race tech, but the number 8, we will not appeal. Straightforward, hey, we fucked up. It is what it is. And
I don't even remember hearing anything about this, really.
no, me either. That's actually the first I'd heard about it. But the text the screenshot that Kyle sent me, let me just pull it up here because I didn't include that in our notes. Here it is. This guy, Pat Morgan, says, another team screw up for Kyle Busch. Can they just get it right once? Which, that's not even the right series.
This is the wrong age.
And that was what he was talking about. And then I looked at the other ones that just made the screenshot because he didn't crop it at all. And that's when I was like, I got to check this thread out because this is all of the dumbest stuff I've read in a while. A guy named Jim Swango says that's what you get for supporting Prime. Okay. And then Junie Ronald Roberts, which I assume is a joint Facebook account. Love that shit. Due to teams signing contracts with NASCAR, they cannot appeal penalties and decisions made by NASCAR, which is not even fucking true. You could absolutely appeal that shit. And it goes on. There's so many different ones. Yeah, Rob Huggins says, with you taking the 600 on Prime, I don't get to watch it. Thanks, Junior. That F up. Which I guess is that fucked up. I don't know. And then last but not least, a guy named It's Just Quigley says, what are we even talking about? LOL. Xfinity, Cars Tour. Y'all race quite a few series that nobody watches. So my DAR for the week is anyone who chose to comment on this. All of you.
All of you.
And you're sentenced to watch the rest of the NASCAR season on Prime, even though it's not on there. So,
Yeah, full price.
You mean full speed?
sure. But yeah, man, you want to see a cesspool, just look that post up, and it is just... Sometimes the well runs a little dry for the DAR for the week, and this week it was so deep.
It was thick, yeah.
Yeah, I had so many submissions coming from so many different people, from y'all, from things I found, just all over the country. And yeah, they come out of the woodwork for the greatest weekend in motorsports, and that's what you'd expect, I guess. But yeah, this particular post takes the cake. Anytime you get Junior involved, there's going to be
Prime,
some...
apparently.
Or Prime.
Well, yeah, I was so we could have done a whole thing about everybody bitching about Prime. The Iceberg on YouTube, he just put out a video that's just like a summation of all sorts of different people saying bullshit about Prime. So you can watch that if you want more of that content.
Yeah, and yeah, it is what it is. Coming from a guy who can't watch the CW on his TV, so sorry, I don't feel bad for you. Oh man!
All right,
Septic tank time.
Yeah, it is
I think
septic tank time.
Well, God, the list on Flow Racing and Dirt Vision was so long this weekend. I mean, you could, if you printed this off, it'd be the size of a CVS receipt because there was so much happening. But I'm going to focus on the things I kind of paid attention to or actually watch. I'm going to miss a bunch. Trust me, if I could watch it all, I could. But again, already the busiest weekend in motorsports on a major level. So when you start talking about the short track stuff, there's no way you can watch all of it. Probably my favorite race of the week, the Show Me 100 out at Wheatland, Missouri. Friend of the program again, and professional DARF hunter Kyle Armstrong was out there at the Simpson trailer giving us updates the whole time. If you guys don't know anything about Wheatland, it is in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's nothing. He had to stay an hour away in Springfield at the Bass Pro because there's nothing going on up there. It's literally...
busy month ahead.
Oh, my God, yeah. That guy's out on the road. And I've said it before, if you roll up to a dirt track and see that Simpson trailer, our boy Kyle is going to be manning it. So go up there and buy a hoodie from him or say what's up and tell him you know his name through Meet Me at Applebee's. And, yeah, you'll make yourself a new friend. But great racing all weekend. Hudson O'Neal finally started finding some speed in the 71. He won on Friday and Saturday night, but Bobby Pierce put on a show on Saturday night and chased down Jonathan Davenport for the win. They were going at it pretty good for a few laps, and I think Davenport got caught behind, I can't remember who it was, but got caught in lap traffic, and that was all Pierce needed to just sail off into the night. So Hudson O'Neal, well, again, he did have a good weekend, but Bobby Pierce taking home the big check. And that was a great show. That's definitely my septic tank race of the week. Don't flush that one down, folks. You want to hang on to that race. And I'll see if I can find some highlights from it. We'll post it on Instagram. World of Outlaws, they had a pretty tough weekend with weather. Seems to be the case with every single weekend they try and run. Sharon ended up getting canceled. The Attica show got moved to Saturday from Friday night, which was what caused the Sharon cancellation. And then, of course, Atomic went on as scheduled on Sunday. Logan Schuchart picked up a win in Attica. I'd love to see that. Big Shark Racing fan. And Carson Macedo won his 50th race on his 29th birthday on Sunday night at Atomic. That was a badass little race. I enjoyed it very much. There's a local guy who almost won, and I forgot to write his name down. I'm completely spacing on this. My brain is mush. I'm sorry. But good job, buddy. You almost pulled off the upset of the year. But it was all for naught because Carson Macedo was definitely bad fast in the JJR machine and got that taken care of. High Limit was in Pennsylvania. It was the first time they got to take on the Posse this year, or one of the first times anyway. Or this is definitely the biggest show of the year so far. The Bob Weichert Memorial at Port Royal. Aaron Reitzel defeated the Posse on Saturday night and took home $100,000 for his troubles. That was a great race as well. The Smart Tour over on the pavement side ran, The Black Flag podcast put it this way, and I got to agree, the most Southern time race you've ever seen in your life. It took forever to finish. They ran out of Speedy Dry at one point because so much oil got dropped on the track.
They're like, dump out whatever's in your pockets,
and then they just started putting that red dirt down on the racetrack, which when you put that in liquid, it turns into mud. So now you got mud on the racetrack. So they had to hold a driver's meeting in the middle of the show to figure out, well, how the fuck do we finish this? And the driver's like, I don't know. So they decided to send like
in our job description.
So they sent like the street stocks out there to run, and they were fine. And yeah, eventually we did get a great finish out of that. Ryan Newman getting Luke Baldwin at the line. Actually, I mean, Ryan took the lead because I forget who was leading the race, but he did not want to be the first one to go through the mud pit. And he left the bottom lane open, and Ryan Newman said, I don't give a shit, and took it from him. And Luke Baldwin did as well and put on a show for everybody. So that was pretty cool. That's Ryan Newman's second win of the year on the Smart Tour. Tri-Track Modifieds are up at Thunder Road. Austin Beers picked up a popular win there. Popular because I like Austin Beers a lot. Thunder Road's a badass little racetrack. Also, that's where, not Mike Joy. Oh, boy. Ken Squire got his start on the mic up in Vermont. So, yeah, love Austin Beers. And the Tri-Track Modified Series is the best modified touring series in the United States. So if you ever get a chance to see it up here in New England, make sure you do it. On the late model side of things, ASA Stars Tour was at Hickory, and Colby Howard picked up a win. Chase Elliott getting second out of the deal. So he runs short tracks once in a while, and when he does, he usually does pretty good. And that was a second place for him. And there was another race as well. I forget where it was. But poor Cole Butcher broke an axle in both of those while leading. So him and Kyle Larson are probably riding the pine at fucking Chili's somewhere, drowning their sorrows. Because that sucks.
What's that new Saved by the Bell drink they got?
Oh, I have no idea.
Chili's.
I saw some pictures of that. I think Josh Davis, friend of the program, was drinking those
Yeah.
Changes
out at
color
Charlotte.
or something.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've not tried that yet, but I guess I'm going to have to add that to the
Sounds
list.
real healthy.
Speaking of shit shows, of course, at North Wilkesboro, Stephen Kopchik completely wrecked the fuck out of Tyler Ripkema. NASCAR decided to suspend him, and rightfully so, but then they appealed it, and NASCAR did the most NASCAR thing ever by just giving him a higher fine, and as long as he paid it before the next race, he's allowed to race. So $2,500 and you're back on track, pay the fine. I don't know what the fuck kind of message that sends. And then Tyler Ripkema, excuse me, that's a tough last name. Tyler got a $500 fine for running out in the track and flipping him off. So the old actions detrimental penalty.
The story keeps getting worse.
Yeah, so I didn't see this next one. I saw this in the NASCAR shitposting group, but apparently there was a driver at Seacock Speedway about an hour from my house. I don't know if it was the Enduro race or something during the Thrill Show this weekend or one of the regular Friday or Saturday night shows, but I guess a driver got knocked out, and then the fire department or the first responders didn't show up for 8 minutes because they were off eating cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and then the guy who got on video got thrown out because he was raising hell about it. Because that's, I don't know the details 100%. I couldn't find any. I'm sure Seacock's trying to keep that under lock and key if they can. But yeah, apparently that happened. So
You gotta eat your cheeseburgers in shifts. You can't eat them at the same time.
no,
y'all.
absolutely
Jesus.
not. And speaking of guys who probably wish they would have gotten knocked out, Corey Eliason is out of the TKS sprint car. They want to get a younger driver in there, which doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't think Corey Eliason's that old, but that's the rumor. Word on the street. I don't know who's going to be in that car coming up, but Corey's a pretty hot shoe, and I think with the right opportunity, he could do some damage in a 410. So I'm sure we'll see him somewhere at some point. Also, some news I heard on Dirt Tracker today. Kevin Rumley is now just on the payroll for Longhorn, making shocks for them, so that's pretty cool. That's a big development for the Longhorn Dynamics team. So Kevin's a fucking genius. So that's good for. He's worked with them before, but never directly. It was always through Bill Stein. So lots of racing coming up this weekend. A little bit less than this past weekend, so I can probably take it all in and actually talk to you definitively about it. But High Limit's going to be at Lawrenceburg and Butler. World of Outlaws head up to River Cities and Red River Valley. Hunt the Front is going to be at Swainsboro, probably the only big late model show of the weekend, as Lucas Oil and the World of Outlaws are off this weekend. The Cars Tour are going to be at my favorite named racetrack in the country, Larry King Law's Langley Speedway. What the fuck? Most normal people just call it Langley, but you got to throw the extra L's in there just for fun. NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour is going to be risking lives at Seekonk this weekend. American Canadian Tour is up at Thunder Road. And then I usually don't watch like B-Mod races or anything like that, but the Modified World Championship is at Mississippi Thunder this weekend. The winner takes home $100,025 for some reason, and that's a lot of money for racing essentially bang-bangers around. So Ricky Thornton Jr. is going to be there. I think of a lot of other bigger names are going to go ride a modified around this weekend and see if they can pick up that big check. Definitely one of the biggest paychecks in all of short track racing, and that's on Flow Racing this weekend. And I'm, again, never thought I'd say this. I'm excited to watch these little mods rip around on a dirt track. So that's it for the short track septic tank. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, sorry. I'll try not to black out before stage 4 next weekend. So let's go ahead and flush this thing down.
So that leads us to the video of the week segment.
God damn, all right.
So yeah, I picked a couple Harry Gant videos in honor of his Hall of Fame induction last week.
Boy, did you?
The first one is a really just goofy 2-minute video that I found. I forget the name of the company, but Harry, I guess, had some relationship with some lawnmower company. And
It was a Bad Boy Mower, which they went on to sponsor.
Everythingattachments.com.
That's it, yeah. Boy,
this
I love this video so much.
It's just a 2-minute video. There's like a little montage of different pictures of Harry and trophies and other shit, and then
The Elvis song blasting over it.
Blue Suede Shoes is playing the whole time, and then it just goes into like a straight minute of Harry just riding around his lawn on this lawnmower,
Doing some tight turns, really showing off the performance of this lawnmower. It is badass, I'm not gonna lie.
And then the guy is like, you know, this is Harry's new lawnmower. We just got it to him. We wanted to do a demonstration at his house. And
as Harry mows the same strip of his lawn over and over again.
Just one of those weird random videos that I love stumbling across when I'm looking for stuff. So
You know, whoever made this was so proud to show it to Harry, and Harry's probably like, yeah, that's pretty cool, and everyone felt underwhelmed by it. So
yep.
I love that the guy goes, "We hope you enjoy it for a long time to come, and we'll get you a new one every year."
Oh man, but yeah, Harry, the consummate professional, handles it with grace, and now I want one of those lawnmowers.
The second video of the week was a little bit longer. This was definitely
Also an ad.
Skull. Yeah, definitely, but basically a Skull promotional video that was put out in 1984. I thought it was focusing on Harry, but it really just kind of talks about the entire Skull team that year, which was obviously Harry, both Benny and Phil Parsons, and then Jack Ingram. And it starts off with a little bit of an intro just about the exciting world of NASCAR, blah blah blah, and talks about Skull's involvement and how they've got these 3 teams now or 4 teams now. It starts off with Harry and a little bit of background of Harry's career and how he got to be Skull Bandit basically, and it's just cool old footage. This was definitely like an old VHS promotional tape. And each driver gets interviewed throughout this video. And the interviewer, it's very clear the interviewer is just like a PR guy for Skull, as opposed to any sort of motorsports broadcaster. Because I've noticed he asks every single driver, well, maybe not so much Jack, but he asks the other 3 stupid questions, in my eyes at least. Harry talks about, he's only cared about driving his whole life, talks about, driving driving cars underage in the dirt roads of the Carolinas, and that's all he ever wanted to be, was a race car driver, and he just wants to beat somebody. And the question he asked Harry is, "Are you disappointed you haven't won more?" Which is like both a stupid question and an insulting question. But Harry handles it with grace. He answers it, very well, and kind of a long-winded answer, to be honest. But, he talks about his goals, and, his goal was to win 40 races. He's like, if you get 40, that really puts you up there with the greats. And he got close. He got 31, which is actually, I thought he only got, like, in the 20s. But, yeah, 31, he did pretty well. I mean, he earned his place in the Hall of Fame. So, that was good. He talks about being a huge Junior Johnson fan and a big Chevy guy. And, talks about his goals and wanting to win at Charlotte and all that, which I can't remember if he actually ever won there in the Cup Series or not. Throughout the video, though, because this is promotional, there are commercials throughout each segment, which I enjoyed. The first one was an ad for Harry Gant's fan club, which I actually have a handful of the stickers that they showed in this commercial, which I got a kick out of.
Yeah, I have a great Harry Gant fan club shirt that's covered in like oil stains, and the back says like, "I'm a bandit backer."
I feel like I've seen that before, but I've never had one, so that's cool. The next up is Benny Parsons, who obviously I love. I've named my dog after him, and this is weird because I think it's the only time in my decades of seeing Benny on TV where he's not excited and very clearly like wants nothing to do with this. Like he's like looking off in the distance while he's answering these questions, and like is not excited at all to be there. So just for that fact, I enjoyed this. He talks about his motto and his racing philosophy, which is very like lackadaisical. He's just like, I just like to let things sort out and go as you may. And he's like, it's not that important. The first 400 miles of race aren't that important. And he just talks about like, racing, where you are and where your car feels like it should be and all that stuff. And I thought that was interesting. The interviewer also asked him a dumb question. If he thinks about racing the other Skoll-sponsored cars in the track, or he wants to beat them more or drive differently around them. And he just kind of, he's like, I'm not going to race, those guys differently than I would anybody else. And he kind of condescendingly jokes about his brother, which I enjoyed.
So Harry Gant did win at Charlotte once in 1982.
There you go.
One time.
It's funny to me that during that Benny Parsons part, they say that he's 43 years old at the time, which
I noted
the three
that.
of us are almost 43.
I'm going to be 42 in a couple months, so I'm glad I look.
Perpetually just looks like an old man. So
I look probably 15, 20 years younger than Harry does, or Benny does, right there. So it makes me feel a little better about myself. Next up is a Copenhagen merch ad because Benny was sponsored by Copenhagen. Then we see little baby Phil Parsons, who I actually thought I loved his Skoll paint scheme at this time. It had like gold flames in it. Like probably, for as good looking as Harry's car was, I like this one better, to be honest. And really the highlight, because this was his first like full-time season, I think, in the Cup Series. And he talks. I guess he wrecked with DW at Talladega and like flipped in the turn, and it's like that got him nationwide attention, I suppose. He's got these cool sunglasses on and just looks great.
27. Which, man, what was going on in that family with a 16-year age gap between children?
I feel like I read a story about that somewhere at some point. I just can't remember the details of this time, but I think there's a story behind it somewhere.
Listen to that answering machine message from last week. They were busy eating dinner.
Phil was probably an accident, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
The funniest part, though, so Phil is talking about signing autographs, and he says people are lying if they say they don't enjoy signing autographs, which I can guarantee you there are many, many, many drivers and athletes, and anybody else will argue that point till the cows come home. But you know, he's Phil's one of those guys, and as saying someone who did get to meet him once, he was very, very nice in person, and I'm sure Benny would have been too if I ever got a chance to meet him. But he talks about meeting Ned Jarrett in a hotel when he was 6 years old, and Ned bringing him up to his room to give him pictures and stuff. Now, granted, I mean, Ned Jarrett is a sweetheart, and you know, one of the forefathers of the sport and all that. And I doubt anything happened other than him just having a nice moment with Phil there. But boy, that hits different in 2025. hearing somebody bringing a kid up to their hotel room.
Jesus Christ.
Then there's another ad for some more Skull merch, which is cool. And then Jack Ingram spotlight, and talks about you know, he never wanted to go up to Cup because of the commitment and wanted to be closer to home and spend more time with his family, which is respectable. And he's another Hall of Famer who won hundreds of races all over. So, you know, he still accomplished a lot in the sport. And I would say that the highlight of this segment for me was at the beginning. They show a shot of a crewman on pit row just kind of figuring out where to put stickers on his car, and that is just such a stark contrast to today, as far as like everybody, like every sponsor is just so particular as to where logos go on the car and how much, you know, decals and spaces on cars cost. And here you just see some guy just kind of like staring at stickers and figuring out where to put them on this car. So
This is like a kid putting stickers in their sticker book. Like,
Yeah.
looks good there.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was pretty much it. You know, it was a nice little time capsule 40 years ago, and not the most thrilling or knowledgeable video, but, you know, I think we found the fun little tidbits that were worth pointing out, and I enjoyed it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I loved
Yeah,
both of
it's
these. Yeah.
Yeah, just like you said, a good time capsule, and to see the 4 tobacco guys featured in something together was something different.
Yeah, I say it every time we have a video from this era or like this. The more footage that I haven't seen of this era that I can get, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I guess
especially
my
interviews and pro shot stuff. So
Yeah, I guess my only negative comment, though, would be that I think that Earnhardt documentary has spoiled me, because the quality of footage in that documentary now, and then watching like shitty VHS garbage footage, it's like, oh man.
yeah, just what could be. I was thinking the same thing.
It's fair, but I mean, you know, that's just kind of, you know, part of living in the VHS era, and so much of this stuff is just kind of lost to time that you kind of got to work with what you have. So
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it, and glad y'all did too. So for video of the week this week, there's actually going to be 3. So NASCAR is in NASCAR. NASCAR's in NASCAR this weekend. They're in Nashville this weekend. And so this kind of inspired me a little bit. It's a little bit sad, but somebody posted a video today on Twitter of Sterling Marlin getting interviewed about the LW Wright stuff. And it was done by a local Tennessee newspaper. And, you know, it's a little sad just because, you know, obviously Sterling's been dealing with Parkinson's for the last decade or so. And
Yeah.
he's probably looks and sounds just about as bad as you can get. So obviously that's a huge bummer. I mean, we're all Sterling Marlin fans, and
Yeah.
it sucks to see somebody go through that when he's only, I mean, he's younger than Harry, younger than a lot of
I think
guys
it's
of his
67.
era.
Yeah, he's
So,
not that old. Yeah.
you know, but he looks decades older than that. And so True Love suggested that we do some sort of videos on Sterling for the show. And unfortunately, if you go on YouTube and look up Sterling, aside from dozens of video gameplay videos of Sterling in old NASCAR games and diecast reviews. I would say probably half of what you're going to find is just dumb clickbait bullshit about the end of the 2001 Daytona 500, which we're obviously not going to talk about that here.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that.
But True Love did mention that it would be great to find a compilation of funny and silly things that Sterling said in broadcasts. So I managed to find one of those. So we've got the good, the bad, and the funny with Sterling Marlin. That's going to be the first. The second video, since we're in Nashville, the home of country music, I found a little 9-minute video about the life and racing career of Marty Robbins.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So, because I mean, I obviously know Marty, raced a bit, and while he didn't really do a whole lot, it's still cool to see a country music legend get in a race car. We'll do a little history lesson there. And since we're in the home of country music, I found another little video titled "When NASCAR Drivers Became Country Singers." So those are the 3 videos of the week, still totaling just about a half hour. So they're on the playlist now.
Sounds like you did pretty good.
Yeah, those are all good.
Yeah.
No chimpanzees driving go-karts or people unboxing
He
diecasts.
threatened us with some.
He did.
I didn't. Because we're watching next week now. No, I found a racing show for kids from my childhood, and I don't know if you're gonna remember, and I'm not gonna say it right now. I'll save it for next week. But
Okay.
it's not as bad as y'all are making it out to be. Let's just say that it's probably gonna be interesting.
I'll be the judge of that.
We'll save it for next week. NASCAR is in Nashville. As I stumble over that again.
It's tough.
Yeah. Is it Xfinity in Cup this weekend, or is it Trucks in
I
Cup?
think it's all 3.
It is all 3. Okay, good. And Cup's a Sunday night race, which I don't mind because I like having a full day to do stuff. So looking forward to that. Nashville hasn't been that bad the last few years. And True Love's not going this year, right? So you won't have to deal with it.
You've had enough paying $10 for water.
Yeah.
The first one was enough for me, I think.
Yeah.
I'm waiting till they go to the fairgrounds someday before I die.
Yeah.
Man, that has
Before the fairgrounds dies.
well, that's just completely fallen off the radar.
Yeah.
Well, there's a new city government in Nashville now, and they were not thrilled about it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. There's one thing that we didn't mention in the news and notes that was a little bit of a surprise, but completely unprompted after one of the best races of the year. Elton Sawyer just came out and announced today on, I don't know if it was Sirius or whatever, that they are actively working on getting more horsepower in the cars. So maybe we'll have some good news in the next couple weeks. So.
Doesn't seem like it's that hard to do, but
No, it's not. But I'm sure they got all sorts of logistical bullshit.
yeah. I saw the quote was they talk about it every day, and I was like, yeah, me too. We have something in common.
Yeah, so does everybody else watching the sport right now. So.
Welcome to the
The
club.
difference between talking and doing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So yeah, we got NASCAR in Nashville. What else? No IndyCar this weekend, right? I'm assuming.
They are in Detroit.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably not going to that, but
I think they're in Detroit this weekend. And like I said, cars tour at Larry King Law Langley Speedway. Oh, I forgot to mention.
Virginia.
It's in Virginia. It's a cool racetrack. They run winged sprint cars on the pavement there sometimes, which that's always just doesn't look right.
it's weird. That was the first ever 410 race I saw was at Lorain County Asphalt Speedway. It was fucking weird.
Yeah. Speaking of open wheel cars, I forgot to mention this in the septic tank, but Jake Traynor picked up the Little 500 win. It's the second of his career, and he's a Massachusetts guy. I watched him rip around in the NEMA lights and NEMA midgets up here, and good for him. Dakota Armstrong actually crossed the line first, but he got DQ'd, so it goes. But congrats to him, and that's that.
Speaking of wings, we forgot to mention that video that I
Oh yeah, the F2000 race or something at IRP. Yeah.
doesn't have any info with the video clip. But
Yeah,
man,
it's
it's
just
great.
these two marshals or whatever just trying to push this car down the racetrack to give it a start, and they just completely push the rear wing off the car. Like, they just break the shit out of it.
And then they eat shit too. Which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
And I'm sure that hurt. Yeah, that was classic. We'll post that too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebees, on Twitter at meetmeatapplebees. I am Speedway Screens and all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the link. MMA Applebees at checkout for 15% off. But I will, if you didn't take advantage of the big sale this past weekend, I'm going to be doing a massive clearance sale probably the next week or two where there's going to be a lot of stuff for half off. So
Oh shit.
yeah, watch for that in the coming days because I got to make some fucking room in my closet. I got to get rid of some shit. So
Nice.
What's that go-kart coming along?
well, that's what I'm trying to get rid of shit for so I can get the go-kart.
That's what the
going,
closet's
so.
for.
Yeah. So yeah, we're working on it, but local track doesn't open for another few weeks. So well, cool. Yeah.
True
What
love.
about you? True love. Let's hear it.
It's the same thing every week. It's still Snake Mountain _ True Love.
It's almost like you're surprised you got to say it. You just
I think someday I'm just hoping that you just will quit asking me.
Never.
So I am surprised when you just continue to make me do it. But follow me for all the Larson memes for this week.
Oh man, Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram. My band's called These Wild Plains. Also been, I was gonna say slapping some skins, but that sounds gross. Playing the drums for Charlie Marie recently, and we played a bunch of shows this weekend. They were both really good. Also, shout out to Holy Roller for playing Boston Calling. Did some drum teching for them on Friday, which is why I didn't watch any racing then. But it was just fun to be super busy playing music again. All that's ramping up. And again, thank you so much for coming out to those shows. Sending Ward Hayden and the Outliers off with the new record on the road. And then on Saturday, we were down in Connecticut playing with Nick Bosey and a bunch of other pretty kick-ass country bands from up here. I've been looking for this crew of people for a long time, and I'm glad I finally found them. But got to talk racing with quite a few of you, actually. None of them knew the show, but they just happened to be racing fans, people walking around in Thompson T-shirts. Felt right at home. So thank you guys for all coming out and saying what's up. And there's plenty more coming up the pipe here. And no racing plans for me this weekend. I might go to Seekonk on Saturday, but I kind of doubt it.
I think you need to go and see what's up with those cheeseburgers.
Yeah, well, I've had them. They're not worth the 8-minute wait, I can tell you that. So, Jesus fucking Christ.
Cool. All right. With that, looks like the check is here. So thanks for joining us again at Applebee's, and we'll talk to you all next week.